live. We're looking. We're seeing. There's that. There we go. It's a little bit delayed. Okay. All right. Well, we're a little bit delayed, sports fans. Let's see if we can share this. We're not live yet. Let's share this here. Okay. Do that. Okay. There we go. All right, everybody. So this is a bit delayed. So if my responses, there's a chat up here on the page. If you go to it, obviously I'll try to respond to questions. We've got some stuff. This is a new thing. Hangouts, Google Hangouts, obviously for anybody who does this stuff, has changed. It's gone away, and now it's YouTube Live. Well, YouTube Live is not nearly as simple as Google Hangouts, and for the old dog like me, it's taking most of the evening to figure out how to do this stuff. My apologies to Poklahoma, Mike. I took so long to do this. He's actually on call with work, so he's staying relatively sober this evening, and says he would be boring. And hopefully by next week, I will figure out how to have multiple people on here. King is unable to join us, but he did send back a couple of comments that I'll share with everyone. We've actually got a couple of questions that came up on Twitter accidentally. So we'll see how this goes. This will be a little bit of a work in progress since they changed the platform a little bit. So hopefully this works out. My apologies for the video quality, by the way. I was so engrossed in trying to get this to work that I left my good video camera upstairs. So we'll just bang away at this, and hopefully it won't be a complete mess. So, as anyone who follows me on Twitter knows, last week's result, it really kind of left me. It left me in a bad place. What to say? What to say? What to say? It kind of sucked the life out of me for whatever reason. Not sure, really not sure what it's going to take to kind of get this kind of back in gear, I guess you could say. But I tell you that as my Twitter handle currently says, I don't know, man. I feel I'm like ruined. Um, that really stunk. And I get, there's folks out there, plenty of them, and I've had the debate um, that Oklahoma State didn't deserve to win. All right, I understand that argument. Um, there are plenty of teams that have played games where they should have defeated an opponent, an inferior opponent, whether it was a slightly inferior or a lot inferior. Should have beaten them either worse than they did. Game should have never been as close as it was. And I definitely understand, because I'm actually one that tweeted out that I had a coach in high school, and it was basketball. This is back in the 70s, late 70s, and the coach talked about how if you leave yourself in a position where either a crazy bounce or a bad officiating call is going to cost you a game, you should have never left yourself in that situation. You should have taken care of business. There was plenty of other stuff in the game that you could have done that wouldn't have left you in that vulnerable position. And while I get that, all right, on another level, a lot of things happen during a game. Okay, so bad officiating call happens during the game. A really crazy bounce happens during the game, where you have the opportunity to potentially do something about it. There's plenty of time in the game. You could do something about it. Good example, if I just used the Oklahoma State example this past weekend, what if that call happened at the end of the first half? Okay. Oklahoma State's got the opportunity to come back. All right, do something about that. So there's a point at which now I depart from that because this call actually happened at the end of the game. A situation where, by rule, it's clear where the end of the game should have taken place. No other activity happened after that. It's extremely easy to draw a line in the sand to say this is where it should have stopped. It should not have gone past this point. Even the Duke Miami game last year. It's at the end of the game. It's kind of the final act of the game. There's a point at which you could say, hey, it should have stopped here. Right here. In that point, we see this play. We see this moment. It clearly should have stopped there, and that would have been the end of the game. Even in the Duke Miami situation, if you took that situation, you saw like the video showed that the player's knee was down. If the player's knee was down with 4 seconds left, well, that's not the end of the game. There's time left on the clock. Miami still has an opportunity to do something crazy. Whereas if the knee is down after the clock has hit 0, hey, that's the end of the game. So while you could say that, okay, Oklahoma State deserved to lose, they didn't play well enough to seal the game, I would argue this, that Central Michigan, while they played admirably and in many aspects of the game played better than Oklahoma State, they too did not deserve to win the game. Central Michigan had the opportunity to either make it much more difficult for Oklahoma State to take the lead or potentially seal the game if they drove down, kicked a field goal, scored a touchdown. Had the potential of sealing the game, winning, putting the game away, and they turned right around after a key turnover and turned it over themselves, deep in their own territory, giving Oklahoma State the opportunity, which they took advantage of, to take the lead in the game. Then when they came back, get the ball again after the kickoff, and they've got a chance to go down, win the game with, a field goal, win the game with a touchdown, just any kind of a score wins the game, and kill the clock. Within a couple of downs, they turn it over again in their end of the field. So, in my book, if you're going to tell me that Oklahoma State didn't deserve to win the game, I'm going to turn around and tell you, well, guess what? Central Michigan didn't deserve to win the game. And in this case, if you say OSU didn't deserve to win, well, guess what? They did what they had to do. How many times, and we've had this debate on Twitter. I've had the debate on pistols firing in the comment section on one of the posts. If a team, deserve never won anything. I've played a lot of golf in my life. And, I had a coach in college who we used to compare with, this guy we play with, he's from this school, and he hits it all over the place. And then he ends up making a 20-foot putt, and by the end of the day, he ends up winning the meet that we're at. They say, that guy, he's so lucky. And our coach used to talk about luck is when preparation meets opportunity. It was, it's a quote that's been bandied about for a long time. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Well, I also had a guy, this is, again, in another career, I was up in central New York. There was a guy who had won the club championship at this course where I worked. And a lot of the other golfers there, pretty good golfers, would complain because he was a sloppy player. Didn't have a great swing, hit kind of a sloppy looking shot, this little kind of snipey hook. Didn't hit greens in regulation, but had a tremendous short game. And at the end of the day, he always managed to shoot a good score. And guys would just get after him about, oh my God, how did you do that? And you didn't, I played so much better than you. And he just turned around and goes, scorecard. And that's absolutely the same in my book in any sport. If you complain about the nature of the contest, my response is there are no pictures on the scorecard. Okay? Nobody asks you how you did it. What was the final score? What was the final number? Did you win? Did you not win? Okay? Did you win or lose? So for me, you could say Oklahoma State didn't deserve to win. Okay, that's fine. Ohio State at that moment didn't deserve to win the national championship a couple of years ago because they got run out of the stadium opening game of the year by a Virginia Tech team that barely finished over 500. So Ohio State did not deserve a national championship. But wait a minute. They got there and they won. So therefore, they're the national champions. So no different than anything. The end result in sports is what matters. How you play the game only matters as far as sportsmanship, that kind of stuff. If you played sloppy, if you play, when somebody comes to me and says, well, it's not, did you win or lose? It's how you played the game. Playing the game means, did you give great effort? Were you a good sport? All right. Were you a good winner, good loser, that kind of stuff. Has nothing to do with necessarily how you perform. Teams perform great. Teams perform not great. Every week is different. You have a week where you're hot and you're firing on all cylinders. That happened, back in 2013, when Baylor came to Stillwater, and Clint Shelf, who I love to death, the whole choo-choo train thing, but overall he was an okay college quarterback. He wasn't some kind of mind-blowing college quarterback. Well, Baylor caught Clint Shelf on a night when he couldn't miss. He completed the first 11, 12 passes. OSU couldn't do anything wrong. Baylor couldn't do anything right. And they got run out of Stillwater. Okay? Well, guess what happened the next week? That team that was so hot laid an egg. Absolutely laid an egg in a moment where they should have run out of the stadium in the same fashion. A Sooner team that was by far and away inferior to that team in 2013. So that's one of those moments where, again, the result matters. Okay? And Oklahoma State scored more points than Central Michigan on the scoreboard when the clock ran out. And the officials completely blew the situation up with a horrible ruling. Now, think about this, too. All the circumstances that went into that. Not talking about the actual game that took place. The officials on the field messed up the call. All right, fine. You've got the replay officials. The replay officials messed up the call. All right. All right, well, the coaches on the sideline will have a stroke about it, and they'll draw enough attention, call a timeout. Somebody's got a moment to actually look something up. Because I'm sure, I was a golf professional. The rules of golf are way goofier. Okay, you ever look at a decisions book with the rules of golf? That's way goofier than the rules of the football. And I can tell you right now, if you gave me a heads up, it would take me less than a minute to actually find the rule in the book and look at the exceptions to the rule. Less than a minute, as complex as that book is. So the officials on the field messed it up. The officials in the booth were asleep at the wheel. Gundy and his coaching staff were so caught off guard that nobody there, nobody on the sideline, nobody for Oklahoma State in the press box had the wherewithal to say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Phone Gundy. Tell him to throw the flag. Tell him to call a timeout. Tell him to do something, anything to stop the officials long enough that we can do something about this. Now, the next step of it is, guess what? Nobody on the Central Michigan side knew it. And this is where I take kind of umbrance with Central Michigan, because there is an example back in the 1940s of, I believe it was Cornell was playing, either Columbia or Cornell was playing, I believe it was, I want to say Dartmouth possibly, but it was an Ivy League situation. And it's been out there. I think enough of you have probably seen it, got tossed out there on Twitter, that when a situation arose, it was the fifth down. So like the Missouri, was it the Missouri-Nebraska? Yeah, I think it was Missouri-Nebraska, whoever it was, it got the fifth down. All right, Missouri-Colorado, Missouri-Nebraska, who got the fifth down. So you had a similar situation in that Ivy League game in the 1940s where a team got a fifth down, and on the fifth down scored the deciding points of the game. And after the game, once video was reviewed of the game, all right, the team that won said, no, you know what? That wasn't right. We should not have had that opportunity. We forfeit that win. Okay? There is a level of honor in sports where, I'll go back to my example of, if this happened at the end of the first half, if I'm Central Michigan, you know what? I ain't giving that back. You had plenty of opportunity to overcome that situation. All right? However, in this moment, if you're Central Michigan, Oklahoma State had no opportunity, and it was clear at the end of this contest, you should not have gotten this play. And this one play was the deciding play in the game. Okay? Because the game was, for all intents and purposes, the game was over. So, in that moment, you had not just the officials on the field, not just the replay officials, not just the people on the Oklahoma State sideline and in the booth, but also the people on the Central Michigan sideline and the people on Central Michigan in the booth for Central Michigan. Okay? Everybody who you would consider a football expert on that field whiffed. Okay? Completely whiffed. And I'm going to cross my fingers that the coaching staff and the leadership amongst the players will take this situation and hopefully turn it into motivation. And I'm crossing my fingers because this could, as a couple of people have alluded to who've had similar situations, Duke Miami players, that this could be a complete hangover. So as we go into this week, I'm crossing my fingers that for Oklahoma State, that they are able to overcome. The stadium is being striped after years of people wanting to do like colored, blackouts, that kind of thing, and nobody coming up with a way to do that. Then now they're going to go with the orange and white. Of all weeks, to do that, it's wow, of all weeks to do that. So I'm going to look at a couple of things here. Let's just, as I usually do, I'm going to pull up the schedule for this coming week, and let's see what we've got going on. I didn't write it down because I spent all my stinking time trying to figure this whole YouTube live streaming nonsense out. So let me see what we can find here. And scores. There we go. Technology is great when it works. We got week 3. Let's go to the Big 12. We got a great game going on between Cincinnati and Houston right now. There's only a little over 4 minutes, about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter if you're watching on TV. Houston's got a 10-point lead, so it looks like they're probably going to pull it out. Cincinnati does have the ball in Houston territory, and it's probably a little behind what I'm looking at here, so there may be other stuff going on. FYI, if you're looking at us on YouTube, there is a chat box there. You can throw some stuff in there if you want. I am delayed, so I'll probably see it in delay, so I'll be able to respond without it throwing me off too much. So let's go to the Big 12. See what we got going on this week. Baylor is at Rice. Rice is 0-2. Baylor's a 31-point favorite. Again, what a season. Oklahoma State has to lose to that kind of crap last weekend, and Baylor's playing football. Baylor's playing football. There's absolutely no justice in the world, and yes, I know this is sports, so this is obviously a sports personality trying to speak here, not my real world personality. The fact that Baylor's playing football and being allowed to win games is a joke. So that's enough of that. You got Kansas is at Memphis. Kansas, after rushing the field after beating Rhode Island, loses badly to Ohio. They are on the road at Memphis. Memphis is 1-0, and Memphis, folks, is favored by 20. That ought to tell you something there. That's at noon on ESPNU if you want to watch the agony. Baylor and Rice is actually Saturday night on ESPN, of all things. How is that a primetime game on ESPN? That's just abysmal. That's just terrible. You have opening of Big 12 play. Iowa State at TCU. Iowa State 0-2, TCU 1-1. Fully expect TCU to pull this off. TCU's favored by 24.5. I would actually take TCU and lay the points. Iowa State is looking like it's going to be a rough start for Matt Campbell. So they'll definitely be competing with Kansas for the bottom of the league. You've got Florida Atlantic University at Kansas State. Kansas State had a bye week after losing to Stanford. Tough game. So I would expect Florida Atlantic's 1-1. I would expect Kansas State to come out and win that game, but Kansas State's favored by 25. Don't know if I would lay the points. I might take Florida Atlantic and the points there. Louisiana Tech is at Texas Tech. Tech is 1-1 after losing to Baylor. The line is only 10.5. Texas Tech is only laying 10.5. Louisiana Tech's 1-1. Texas Tech at home. You know what? I might take Texas Tech and lay the 10.5 on that. Texas Tech's going to score points. Pat Mahomes, good quarterback. Louisiana Tech, don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule to see what they did to get to 1-1. But that's a fairly small line for a high-scoring game. A close game might be 10 points in that moment. So I think I might take Texas Tech and lay the points. Texas, that vaulted all the way up to number 11, is at Cal. Texas is laying 7. 10:30 ESPN. By the way, Texas Tech game is 7 o'clock. Does not give TV, so maybe not televised. Texas at Cal, 10:30 p.m. That's Eastern on ESPN. Texas laying 7. I really don't know what to think about this game. Cal is 1-1. It had been underwhelming. Texas beat Notre Dame, who I think is overrated. They took care of business against UTEP, although I would have maybe expected them to score 60, but they didn't. Wow. I don't know. I think this will go a long ways to determining whether or not Texas is really back or not. I don't know what to say about that game. I think it should be a pretty low-scoring affair, I think. Although, I don't know. Who the heck knows? Sonny Dykes coaching at California. Who the heck knows? That game's a crapshoot. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. It's who the hell knows what's going to happen in that game. The obviously the marquee game for the Big 12 right now is Ohio State, number 3 Ohio State at number 14 Oklahoma. Ohio State is laying 1.5 at OU. 7:30 on Fox. That's the primetime game Saturday night. Wow, what a contest! I think OU comes out and gets after him. Not gets after him. I think OU's going to blow him out. But OU can run the ball. So I'd really, I think it is going to be a tight game. I think it'll be a very tight game. I think it's total toss up. Total toss up. OU at home. I think they might pull this out. And by the way, for the Big 12, hate to say this, but for the reputation of the Big 12, for both OU and Texas to win would be really good. But also, the final game we're going to discuss, OSU hosting Pittsburgh. If all 3 Big 12 teams win in their Power 5 matchups, that would be really huge for the Big 12. They've not fared well in the public's eye over the first couple of weeks. So, on to this game this weekend. I'm crossing my fingers that OSU, that Gundy and crew have been able to get them focused, that the leadership on the team has been able to get them, that they're going to come into the game fired up. But Pitt has exactly the kind of game plan that a team like Oklahoma State is going to struggle with. Oklahoma State looks to come out and blow you out. And this, if you go back to Central Michigan, I think this is a great way to look at how do you stop Oklahoma State? Well, how do you stop Oklahoma State? You keep the offense off the field. And you've got to keep them off the field a lot. So it's not just good enough to have them throw a 3 and out. You've got to then go on a drive like Central Michigan did after going down 14-0. You've got to go on a clock-eating, momentum-sucking drive. All right? And that's exactly what they did. And Pittsburgh's got exactly the kind of offensive scheme to do just that. If you remember back to the Fiesta Bowl, when OSU played Stanford, and honest to goodness, it looked like they were going to just grind the Cowboys into the turf. The defense couldn't get off the field. The offense couldn't maintain a drive. And then all it took was maybe one little twitch, one little hitch, whatever, one big play, and suddenly, bang, bang, Oklahoma State scores a couple times and gets the defense tired. So it's that momentum for Oklahoma State is all about the offense getting multiple consecutive possessions on the field. If Pittsburgh goes on just a clock-eating drive where they're using every down, the classic, the defense can't get off the field on 3rd down, okay? Where it's just boom and boom and boom, and they just keep grinding down the field and they score. And then Oklahoma State's offense comes out and either goes the boom, 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 oh, we're out, or bang, 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 and they score. And now the defense is back on the field. Well, if the defense can't get off the field, okay, if they can't get a 3 or maybe 6 play possession and get off the field, then Pittsburgh goes just slogs its way down the field, grinding on the defense, okay? And then here's the offense again with the need to go back down the field. And if they can't match that, now the defense goes back out in a short period of time because that's how that offense works. All right, they're either going to go fast and score or they're going to go fast and out. And the defense is right back on the field. So if you're going fast and not scoring and you're putting your defense back on the field against a team that is designed to just grind it down the field, all right, I think this is tailor-made. If Oklahoma State doesn't come out jump out early. All right, or potentially the defense maybe turns the ball over a couple of times, giving the offense either a short field or a couple of quick possessions. Then I'm telling you right now, I think OSU lose by a couple of touchdowns in this game. I think fans will be streaming for the doors in the fourth quarter. That whole scenario last weekend just made me think this is the year of suck. This is the year that things are not going to go our way. This is the year that it's just not happening. And you could look at that and say, well, the good part of that is that means Mason Rudolph's probably going to be back next year. Um, the bad part of it is it's a mediocre year, and probably by towards the end of the year, you're going to have people bitching about Gundy, bitching about Yurcich. Maybe they'll even be bitching about Spencer. Who knows? But there'll be discord. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, even the fact that Oklahoma State it started out as a 7-point favorite. Look at the line right now. The line has dropped to 4.5. Oklahoma State now is favored by 4.5. That's barely meeting the 3-point home field advantage thing. So I don't know. Pittsburgh's inspirational. They got that kid that came back from a horrible medical condition, cancer, I believe it was. I'm not feeling real hopeful right now, and I hope I'm wrong. Really hope I'm wrong on that. So anyway, a couple of things. So King had a couple of comments, and let me go find them here. So we'll entertain a couple of comments here. And again, there's a chat box. I don't know if anybody knows how to use it. Chat is turned on. So if you know how to get on the YouTube stream and chat, shoot a question over, you can. Let's go here. If I can handle my technology. Here's King. King's first comment was, Gundy said he abandoned the run game too early. I've abandoned turds that put up more effort. I tweeted this out because I got that same quote. I saw that same quote where Gundy said he abandoned the game too early, and I retweeted that and said, yeah, when you ran out of before you abandoned the game when you ran out of the tunnel. When OSU actually ran the ball, it looked like they had some success. And I agree with the guys over at Pistol Firing and Kyle. I think Justice Hill, that's the dude. If your offensive line isn't going to just open up gaping holes for a Chris Carson to just lumber through, then you need somebody who can make something happen. Somebody who, when he makes a cut, he's upfield quick, or somebody who can avoid, a little shake and avoid a guy or slip off of a guy. And that's Justice Hill. Even Barry J's got just a little bit of that, although Hill's quicker. So, honest to goodness, they've got to give the running. This is actually be a game where, if Pittsburgh's going to grind it down the field and it doesn't look like you're going to be able to keep them off the field, you actually need to grind a little bit yourself and give your defense a breather. You've got guys running in and out on the defensive line, but what do you want to kill these guys this early in the season? I mean, look what happened to us last year when they played consecutive games where they were on the field for 90 or 100 plays, and it showed against Baylor and it showed against OU. They were just out of gas. It's a long season. I don't care if you're rotating 6 guys in and out at defensive tackle. All those plays is going to take its toll on the rest of the defense. So anyway, so here's King. His first question is, if OSU loses, he's giving a new season win prediction. He's putting the over-under at 5. Wow. All right, so let's just take that scenario. If Oklahoma State loses and drops to 1-2, you figure you got to figure Iowa State and I almost said Texas Tech. You got to figure Iowa State and Kansas are given wins, so that's 3 wins. And I tell you what, they lose to Pittsburgh, and there are no guarantees. You're going to Baylor, not a good matchup. You got Texas coming in, and they could Here's my prediction. Texas will be ranked maybe in the top 5. I'll bet they're in the top 8 by the time they come to Stillwater, unless they shit themselves and lose. So you got Baylor coming to town. You're going to Baylor. You got Texas coming to town. You're going to Kansas State, and they put up a pretty good fight against Stanford. Honestly, you're going to TCU. You're going to Norman. I mean, this could go like downhill real fast. So guess what, King? If they lose to Pittsburgh, you might not be far off. You're looking at potential of breaking the Gundy streak here. You got West Virginia coming to Stillwater. Okay. You got Texas Tech coming to Stillwater. Okay. But those wouldn't be gimmies. So anyway, why has recruiting gotten worse since our 2011 season? I don't know if I would agree with that. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think recruiting, if you look at 2011, 2011 was just an aberration. And recruiting, if you want to look at recruiting, I would argue recruiting didn't necessarily lead to 2011. 2011 was a perfect storm. It was Brandon Whedon, who was a complete out of nowhere, a dude who came back. He was third string, if you famously remember the 2009 Colorado game. He was third string behind Alex Cate, for heaven's sakes. So that was just a complete crapshoot. You don't know that you've got him. And you got Justin Blackman, who will go down as one of the greatest college wide receivers of all time, and one of the greatest busts in the NFL. A 2-star recruit who turned into something. So after that, they've had recruiting, but they've also had a ton of coaching changes going on. When you have coaching changes, it's tough. It's tough to maintain consistency in recruiting. And I think you could look at the current recruiting class that's looking like it's coming in next year if they maintain that, and even the recruiting class that was coming in this year, where Oklahoma State has maintained a coaching staff for now 3 consecutive years. Yursich is in his 4th year. See, Monken was 2012. 13, 14, 15. So, yeah, this is Yursich's 4th year. You've got, a running backs coach who's in his 2nd year. You've got, an offensive line coach who's in his 2nd year. So you got a defensive coach who's in his, God, how many years? He's been here as long as Gundy, it feels like. You got a defensive line coach that's been here a number of years, and it shows. So continuity in coaching breeds improvement in recruiting relative to the abilities of the coach. So I don't know that I would necessarily agree with that. So we could debate that, but OSU's recruiting class that came in this year was pretty good, and the recruiting class on for next year is actually rated higher than OSU's average. So let me go to now Twitter, because there were a couple of things on Twitter that got out there. Let me see if I pull those comments up. I have to scroll down a little bit. Hopefully I can find them. Oh, there they go. Viva the Matador wants me to come on their podcast. Might have to do that just to provide some free entertainment for everybody else. Let's just keep scrolling down here. There were a couple of things that got sent out that I thought one was serious and one was funny. Let's see here. Wow, I do too much tweeting. Okay, here we go. How long will it take for people to get over the Central Michigan game, and is Big 12 out of the question for the playoff? Well, I'll go the second part first. No, the Big 12 is not out of the question for the playoff. Uh, I hate to say this, but Texas, if Texas somehow figures out to keep this thing going, they'll definitely be in the top five, if not before, after the game in Stillwater. If they keep this going, they stay on a roll, they win in Stillwater, and they're undefeated. I'm telling you right now, they'll be up there, and they would just have to keep the thing going. And Texas, if Texas goes undefeated, they're in the playoff. Period, no question. Um, OU, one loss Oklahoma. If they run the table, they could very easily get into the playoffs. Especially if they beat Ohio State. Look at the game they're playing. They're playing a marquee game against the team ranked number 3 in the country. So if OU runs the table, they could very easily get into the playoffs. So the Big 12 out of the question for the playoff? Absolutely not. Oklahoma State runs the table. It's going to depend. I don't think they'll, because they're out of the standings now. They'd have to shoot up the standings pretty quick. You'd need some cooperation from teams above them, dropping games, and they'd have to run the table in pretty decisive fashion. And I don't think that's going to happen with this team. So no, Big 12 not out of the question. But I think right now, if you want to look at your hopefuls. You're looking at OU and Texas. I'm not even talking about Baylor, because if that happens, that's just an abomination. So, first question: how long will it take for people to get over the Central Michigan game? I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not gonna get over it. I will harp on that game the rest of this season. If you follow me on Twitter, I guarantee you a week will not go by that I don't drop a comment about that. I think it, without question, because of the timing. All right, I think there might be more egregious calls. Yeah, a call that was worse as far as just a whiff especially by the on the field or the replay officials. But when you put the timing into it, and the fact that it was the end of the game, I just think that is by far and away the worst officiating gaffe in the history of college football. I just think without question. And I ain't getting over it. It makes me question. You've seen the post that Squinky claims that Squinky doesn't mess with officiating, that officiating can be a total crapshoot, and sometimes it works in his favor and sometimes it doesn't. That even makes me question Squinky. He might be full of shit. Maybe he's dabbling in officials now. I don't know, but that hurt, man. That hurt, and I can tell you right now, I won't get over it till this season is over, and Oklahoma State comes back next season and hopefully erases all memory of that. But I'll be honest. I don't know about anybody else. I will not get over that this season. That will last with me throughout the rest of the season. That's just how, as a sports fan, it will. I'll go on, obviously, in my daily life, with my day job. But as a sports fan, that's going to stick with me the rest of the season. And this one is tomorrow still Orange Friday, or is it White Friday, or do I wear gray? What do I do? Well, personally, you could call it Black Friday. You could wear black, still be in color mode, okay? Oklahoma State color is black, but black could also be that you're in mourning. You could wear black and white in honor of the officials. I personally thought they should have striped the stadium black and white just to make a joke of the officials last week. I thought that would have been better received. But is tomorrow still Orange Friday? You betcha. Tomorrow's still Orange Friday. My dog is still going to have the orange collar on. I'm working from home, so I'll have an OSU T-shirt of some kind on, an orange cap or something. And I'm playing this weekend in a local city amateur event in the senior flight, the senior championship division, where one of those days I will be sporting my OSU gear, hat and shirt and whatnot. So yeah, is it Orange Friday? You betcha, it's Orange Friday. It's always Orange Friday. Um, what about Mason Rudolph? My God, if it was a one-time gig, okay. He's had multiple games with issues throwing the ball high. That is definitely something he has a problem with. Uh, I have no idea about quarterback mechanics or whatever, so I don't know how addressable it is. But he's definitely got an issue throwing the ball high. I don't know if it's too much adrenaline, if it's technique, but throwing the ball too high. Dylan Stoner, some people talked about. Excuse me, Dylan Stoner getting extra time. Dude's dropped the ball. He's been hitting the hands. I'd almost rather see him in the Wildcat than receiving right now because he's dropped. I don't think he's dropped one. I think he's actually dropped a couple that he should have caught. So look, you don't write him off, but he's got to prove he's going to catch the ball in particular moments. The running back carousel. Wow. Ooh. I mean, I like Chris Carson and I like his story. Okay. But he's just not quick. He's definitely running with more authority, I guess I would say, or let's put it this way. Not necessarily more authority, which that may be also true, but he's running with more personality. He had a little spin move, which honestly, for a lot of running backs, his version of the spin move looked a little bit like it was in slow motion. But still, he did something to try to avoid contact to get into the open field. I love the story. He's strong. He's secure with the ball. All the running backs seem secure with the ball, but it is hard to argue with what you've seen from Justice Hill. He needs to see the ball. They just need to run the ball more. They just need to give him opportunities in the open field more. And it does look like the offensive line is at least holding their blocks long enough for a guy like Justice Hill to find that crease, to find that opening. They just need to do it. They just need to trust it and go with it, even if it doesn't result in a first down. We watched OSU go 3 and out with 3 passes. I mean, please, come on. Try going 3 and out with 2 runs and a pass. I mean, I'd live with that at this point. Sorry. Barry J. Put him back on the punt return. If you're not going to run him in the game, McCleskey's getting plenty of action at receiver. So personally, put Barry J back there so that at least you've got that little bit of excitement. The defense. Oh gosh. Defensive line obviously strong. Joe Bob Clements is solid, man. I mean, he's solid. But the back seven, I don't know. You started that game. The back seven started that game against Central Michigan playing aggressive, playing tight, very aggressive coverage. And then all of a sudden they went into that soft friggin' 10-yard wide open coverage. And I don't know what happened with that. I mean, mixing up coverages is one thing, but going from tight coverage to loose coverage is a whole nother thing. And you can talk about, well, there were openings over the middle, and Cooper Rush, who's obviously a good quarterback, and I don't disagree with Gundy necessarily. That guy could find time in the NFL. He's solid, he's tough, can take some sacks because OSU did give him some pressure, and he delivers the ball. And somebody made fun of this. They said, well, if they tell you you're throwing a catchable ball, it's kind of like when a girl says, well, he's a nice guy. Well, let me tell you something. He was throwing a lot of balls that got caught. And they don't ask how. Again, don't ask how. Scorecard. Dude completed passes and moved the offense down the field. So Yeah, there were some openings, but I can tell you right now that defense, they backed up. OSU went up 14 zip, and that defense backed up. Okay, all of a sudden Rush was finding guys that had nobody within 10 yards of them. So that was some kind of a change that I don't get. So anyway, so to end up, that's my prediction for the game this weekend. I think OSU's got Hangover City. I think the offense doesn't know how to keep, they keep our offense off the field. You need to keep their offense off the field. If you want to help this team out, Oklahoma State needs to actually have a 5 minute possession, 4 or 5 minute possession. Keep their offense off the field so our defense doesn't get pounded on. Because if they do, it's going to be just like Beta last year. And even though their quarterback's not about throwing it over the top, they're going to have opportunities because we're going to start sucking it up to the line to try to stop that run, and that's going to leave openings. So my prediction, and I hope I'm not right, I think Oklahoma State loses by a couple touchdowns, and there's going to be trouble in the OK Corral. Uh, Thanks for bearing with us this week. We'll have the new technology figured out for next week. Everybody, travel safe if you're going to the game. Enjoy the weekend, and go Pokes! And can't wait for basketball.